Welcome back to Patch in the Prairie. It's a very hot and humid late July afternoon, and I just got done setting up a paddock here to move the sheep and the cows into later. And we've never had grass look this good at the end of July, going into August before. And so I thought I'd share a few of the things that we did starting back last year to help us get to this point. One of the things we did last year is we ran chickens over all of this entire field. Our laying hens, and we raised some meat birds for personal use, and we had them over this entire pasture for the entire summer. And the nitrogen in the chicken manure really does help to grow a lot of grass. So that was what we did last year. Then the other big thing that we did was we unrolled hay every opportunity we got. And unrolling hay adds a lot of carbon and fertility to the soil. And then it's also really helpful for not having manure and urine pile up in barns where you don't necessarily want it. And it just keeps that manure out on the land, which is really important. This is actually our second time grazing this pasture this year. We're looking at about 60, almost 70 days of rest. Hard to believe it's been that long. May 20th, the last picture I had taken was when the cows and the sheep first got here. And so we just grazed them really fast across the top, and they trampled a whole bunch of forage. And I wanted to show you what that looks like. So if you get down in here, you can see how many layers of grass I have to pull back. And this helps to contain your soil moisture. And we haven't had rain in probably a couple of weeks, but I can actually feel that it's damp down there. So by trampling all this, we are actually conserving soil moisture. You can also see all those seeds down there waiting for the right time to grow. A very wet spring, which is something that's different than the last 2 years that we've been here for. But we've also never had grass that was this good in July. It always gets hot and dry in July and August typically around here. So by the fact that we've been able to trample as much forage as we did in the early spring, we were able to conserve all that soil moisture from those early rains, and it's really led to some pretty exceptional growth here for the end of July, and we're pretty excited about that. So one of the keys to rotational grazing or management intensive grazing, whatever label you want to put on it, is having adequate fencing for whatever species of livestock you have. We have found that nothing is really better than keeping sheep in than this electric netting. I know some other producers are able to keep sheep behind 1 or 2 strands of polywire, which is impressive, but mine will definitely not stay in. I have very nice 5-strand barbed wire fences, and they will just go right through those. Even when they have grass as nice as we have here, they always think they can find something better somewhere else. So we always make sure that we have very hot electric netting. One thing I've been starting to do this year, especially because of all the rain and grass, is I will drive the 4-wheeler and smash all that grass down. Looks like it's a little hard to tell. By doing that, I'm able to keep most of that thick grass off the fence, and that helps it not have a strong draw where the plants draw the electricity off the fence, and so that way if animals do decide to test it, they'll get a strong zap. So another important aspect of managing animals on pasture that you're moving all the time is some sort of mobile water system. So we have chosen to put one of these IBC totes just on a cart that we had at this farm that we bought. We repurposed an old barbecue on wheels and turned it into a water cart. These work really well. Sometimes you can get a little bit of algae buildup in these, but if you're cycling through your water pretty fast, that tends not to be an issue. And it works great because I can move it just about anywhere on the farm, and we can always make sure we have water for the animal. You're gonna have to do some sort of adapted valve on these. Some of the fittings you can just slide a cam lock fitting on. This one was actually super challenging due to the fitting that it had, and we actually had to create our own seal on the inside by using an old calf nipple. We cut part of it off, and we created a nice rubber seal on the inside of this tank, and then we added this PVC valve, and then we just have a nice short hose that runs over here to the water tank. You have to have a good fence energizer in order to keep the animals where you want. So we do have one that will do the entire perimeter of our farm. We do have some challenges with that, especially in these wet years where the grass will get so tall that it creates such a draw it shorts out the fence. And sometimes when we have our animals in small paddocks in the middle of the pasture, we didn't have a very good way of energizing those. And so I used to have a smaller Premier One IntelliShock portable solar unit, and I have since upgraded to a bigger one just to keep the sheep in. And then I use the smaller unit for our chickens. But this unit puts out a lot more power than the IntelliShock 60, which is what I had before. When sheep would get hungry, they would tend to test the fence more with that 60 unit. But since we've upgraded to this 100, it's worked great, and we haven't really had any issues with that at all. Got everybody moved, and they are very, very happy.